Let's get into Jaden Rashada. You know, I just hate it. I hate that we're back in the headlines.
We're not back in the
We're
headlines.
not back in the headlines,
Yeah.
but Jaden's back in the headlines.
Yeah, he's back in the headlines. And it's unfortunate because, again, like, you talk to the guy and the football player and he just wants to play football, and then
You see stuff off the field.
yeah, well, it's not stuff,
It's not his fault.
No, it's not stuff for him off the field. It's just like it's an unfortunate world that college football. It's the ugly side of college football right now.
Yeah.
It's the lying and the manipulating and the promises of riches before you play the game professionally, which is good and bad. In this case, you see the ugly. You know, like we were talking off air before, and it's like this is the first time that someone's gonna have to pay the piper for lying to a kid. Usually, you could get off scot-free.
Yeah.
Scot-free? Is that the word?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Look at you. You might be the one messing up sayings these days.
Uh,
Sean in the chat, former PHNX Sun Devils co-host. Acknowledge me. We got you, brother. I'm acknowledging you, brother.
All right, that Chicken Tornadoes comment was for you, Sean, by the way.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
He loves his rollers.
Former ASU quarterback suing former ASU offensive coordinator for nothing that occurred at Arizona State.
Yeah, I love that.
There we go.
That's the headline.
The Sun Devils always make news outside.
Absolutely.
Of ASU.
It's just, if you haven't had the chance to read the CBS article, highly, highly encourage you to go read it. It kind of lays everything out in terms of just the timeline of everything, which, I mean, dating back to when Rashada had committed to Miami for the $9 million that they said that they were going to give him. And then Florida was like, we'll one up you.
Yep,
Make sure you get the 13. The promises to Jaden, to Harlan Rashada, Jaden's dad. Like, it's mind blowing. And I've had conversations with Harlan before when Jaden was still at ASU. And, you know, he just wants to play football.
Yeah.
Right, like you said, like he just wants to play football, and all of the stuff that occurred at Florida, like just trying to like figure it all out.
Mm-hmm.
Like people still, and we were a few years removed from the situation and from NIL kind of growing and seeing what it is today. Not that there's a whole, you know, set rules for it all, but like that was really the first case nationally that we saw that kind of money publicly out there invested in a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like it set the floodgates open with kind of just the way that went down.
The shock of it was crazy at first.
And it's tough because, like, you always want to be in a position to say the player should get what they deserve, right?
Yeah.
And if a school's coming to you and they're saying, hey, you're worth this, at what point is an 18-year-old going to say, you know what, that sounds too good to be true? No, you're going to say, of course I'm worth that. I'm going to go take that. And now you're seeing it rear its ugly head. But I hope that whatever comes out of this, it just leads to more transparency in the future. Because sure, somebody's going to win the lawsuit. Rashada might get a certain sum of money. But the reality is, like you guys said, he just wants to play football.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of kids who have been promised things that have never come to light. And they don't even feel the need to go out and do this because, hey, maybe it wasn't that big of a number, right? Or, hey, whatever, I'm just going to go on and do my own thing. But I'm hoping that after this, there can not only just be more transparency between the people, but then also like to the public as well. So stuff like this just doesn't happen in the future. And you need to have guidelines and regulations on things. And I don't know what exactly that looks like, but what we're seeing here is you can't just give people free will to throw money around and promises and everything like that.
Promises around, yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, and like in a vacuum, this can be good for the sport because, like, obviously there are real people being affected by this, and that stinks. But
yeah,
it's going to be for the better in the future because it shows the ugly side, as I said, of this whole thing. It shows the lying and manipulating that goes on behind the scenes. I'm sure the curtain's going to open up even more, and we're going to find there's going to be more that people are going to find out about this situation, not only in terms of like promises, but also conversations that were had, not just with Napier, but with other schools. And don't worry, I'm not saying us. there's none of it coming back to ASU.
It's none of it.
But
we'll come back at ASU.
It should be for the better, and hopefully. And I know we've talked about this conversation so many times on the show. How do you revert something when you've gone too far? And I don't know if there's really a right answer. I don't know if there's really a way you can kind of go back in the other direction when you gave, players this free, reign to make money off their image and likeness, which they should. But everybody can kind of see that there should be some type of guidelines, and this is a good example of it.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Guys, we still have a bunch of you in the chat. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We do this just about every single day, talking all things Arizona State and college sports. So much so that one guest is fine. 2 guests in 1 week is kind of where we like to keep it. Arizona State defensive back Cole Martin is going to be in studio joining us tomorrow. So definitely stay tuned for that. It's going to be a fun one. He will be participating in the weekly snake draft.
There's something about Nichols at ASU that they're just they have the most infectious personalities.
They do. They really do.
Sorry, Jordan Clark, you've been replaced.
Wow.
That was kind of
clip it and send it to him. Maybe we can get JC in the chat tomorrow. Just to see.
Fight on, brother, right? No,
that would be USC. That's the rival. Yeah.
What's their thing?
They don't really go Irish. That's
play like a champion.
I mean, that's what they got in the locker room. But that's not like they're saying. They don't like say that.
Play like a champion, Jordan Clark.
Okay.
Do we know what we're drafting?
No, we haven't decided what we're drafting yet. But I would just like to say I won. So
you did. Congrats. You did win.
So you get to choose.
Yeah. I get to pick the.
You get to pick the draft.
I get to pick the order. Yeah. But for those of you, again, interested in the Jaden Rashada news, this is the article outlines the lawsuit, and the lawsuit claims, quote, fraudulent misrepresentation and inducement, aiding and abetting fraud, civil conspiracy to commit fraud, negligent misrepresentation, tortuous interference with a business relationship or contact, and aiding and abetting tortious interference. Some of those
Totrious.
Totrious? Yep. Totrious interference, bringing me up in a lawsuit. It's tough. I didn't do anything. Let me hold $1, Jaden and Billy. Definitely Billy. Billy needs to let me hold $1.
So Rashada's attorney, or the one who's representing him, says, quote, sadly, this type of fraud is becoming more commonplace in the Wild West that is today's NIL landscape. Wealthy alumni consumed by their school's athletic programs are taking advantage of young people by offering them life-changing sums of money only to renege on their commitments. And that's from AP News, who just put out an article on this. And I mean, it does feel like a problem that this is not just a one-person thing. Yeah. And maybe this is the biggest example of it, but it's definitely not a one-person thing.
It's between the booster, right, that had a bunch of conversations and that is kind of outlined in this lawsuit, coupled with Billy Napier, kind of like what both of you have said. Like this really is going to change recruiting in a way, and kind of bringing it back to Arizona State, right? We just had Kenny on, and you talked to him about recruiting, and he's okay to get burned by a player.
Yep.
But what he doesn't want to do is, go vice versa and kind of say something to a kid and then almost ruin their experience throughout the entire thing.
That's the reason why they do this.
Yeah.
Is for the kids. It's not for glory. It's not for championships. It's for tradition. It's for showing somebody how awesome this school can be.
Yeah.
And and Kenny's serious about that. It's not about money. It's not about winning. It's about building a program here, and winning is a part of that.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing. And you can feel that when you're talking to him. Like, he doesn't just say these things. He doesn't just tweet these things.